Okay, welcome back. Hello. This is the third part of my walkthrough of my VHS collection. Let's get right to it, ladies and gentlemen. First cab off the ranks, we've got Sinjanor. You can't really see the title there, but it's Sinjanor. There it is. Cool font again. A sort of a sci-fi biological horror style film. You got what looks like a family of Sinjanors there, and another Sinjanor in a test tube there. On the back, you've got a bunch of Sinjanors causing destruction and havoc there. We've got David Gale from Reanimator in this movie. So yeah, just like a biological sort of horror about mutants, I am assuming. Now we've got Cameron's Closet. So this is a holographic style cover. And you can probably see the effect there. Ooh, creepy. So we've got some sort of a girl there causing things to happen with lightning coming out of her hands. From the author of The Howling comes the most chilling tale of terror, Cameron's Closet. And on the back we've got what looks like some sort of a evil hag. Haven't watched this one yet, but it looks like maybe a Carrie style kind of horror. Cool. An absolute classic, Rotor. This movie is incredible and has to be seen to be believed. It is a masterpiece of bad cinema. The cover is incredible. I could talk for probably several hours about this film, but just the first thing that comes to mind is Rotor looks incredible on the cover. It looks like a robot, but in the film he's just a regular man. He's a policeman, cop, robot gone insane. But he's just a guy in the movie. But yeah, very misleading cover there, but incredible cover. Just everything about this film is so cheap and so amazing. Made earnestly, but when you watch it, it's just hard to believe that something can be this inept. Amazing film. See if you can find it, watch it. We've got Drive-In Massacre. Brain splattering, apparently. Very cheap cover. Just a posed photograph, or maybe a still from the movie. So just a very bad slasher set in a drive-in cinema. Probably made to be screened predominantly at drive-ins. So like a very novelty kind of movie. It was apparently filmed entirely in blood-curdling gore color. If that means anything, I don't know. Probably not. The back cover features no screenshots apart from the shot there. That's on the front cover as well. So incredibly cheap looking movie there. Cyber Zone. So continuing with the theme of cyber style films, we've got Cyber Zone. And there's Matthias Hughes again. I'm pretty sure he was also in Cyber Vengeance in part 1 of these video walkthroughs. I talked about a movie called Cyber Vengeance. I'm pretty sure it was Matthias Hughes in that as well. So there you go. He's got the monopoly on cyber movies. There he is again with a gun. Looks like a very generic mid-90s sci-fi. We've got a chrome gun, similar to the cover of T-Force. A staple of mid-90s sci-fi covers there, chrome guns. Prototype. Okay, so again, this is one of those movies that tried to get with the whole sort of Terminator, RoboCop style, you know, pick and choose little bits and pieces of more successful movies and rip those off. In fact, they even kind of allude to that on the through the tagline here. We've got tested, developed, programmed, part cyborg, part human, all Terminator. The future has a name. So very much Universal Soldier, Terminator, RoboCop. We've got some sex happening there. We've got men, explosions, something about Omegas, Los Angeles in the near future there. That's Prototype. Tough Cop. So this is a very cheaply made, I believe it's an Asian co-production, American and Asian co-production of a Miami Vice style sort of cop action movie. We've got partners there. We got the tough cop, the main actor, who's the white guy, and the black guy is his black friend. And yeah, it's just a sort of a traditional kind of Miami Vice drug bust kind of movie, but just made on a shoestring budget and filmed, I believe, partly in maybe the Philippines, if I'm not mistaken. I did a video review on this, I think, on this channel. So if you want to have a closer look at Tough Cop, check it out. That's Tough Cop. So we've got Thunder 3, wicked cover. The title takes up half the cover there. Very kind of Italian post-apocalyptic style, drawn, shiny kind of cover there with Thunder, the leading character. He's a Native American renegade, kind of vigilante style character. I think this is the last Thunder movie. I could be mistaken, but yeah, there's obviously been 3. And yeah, it is an Italian sort of style movie. When they weren't making post-apocalyptic kind of Mad Max ripoffs, they made a lot of kind of Rambo ripoffs. And this is kind of like Rambo, maybe, but with a Native American character instead. There he is, in some state of discomfort. That's Thunder 3. Terror Within 2. A mid-90s sci-fi horror action. Elements of post-apocalyptic stuff. So yeah, beneath the desert in an underground lab, a small group survived a world ravaged by biological warfare. And yeah, so underground setting, post-apocalyptic setting, there's some mutants lurking, very kind of stock standard B-grade stuff. Roger Corman's involved in this. He's executive producing. Ali Ermey is in this movie from Full Metal Jacket. Yeah, that's Terror Within 2. I've never seen Terror Within 1, but I don't think you really need to see it to understand Terror Within 2. Doom Watch. What an ugly cover. But that kind of adds to the charm, I think. We've got a bloated face as the main feature of this cover, and a dog, just a normal dog barking. I believe that this is a British horror movie, similar to maybe The Wicker Man kind of maybe made in the same vein in the same time period. In fact, the blurb here states, "What a frightening thing is happening to change inhabitants of Balth, an island off the west coast of Britain." So yeah, this actually looks very interesting. I haven't watched this one yet, but yeah, it's probably maybe worth one watch ever in your life. Commando Squad. So for those who watched the first episode of these video walkthroughs, you would have remembered another movie called Commando Squad that I showed. This movie has nothing to do with this other Commando Squad. I've just got 2 Commando Squads in my collection, completely unrelated. Incredibly cheap cover, just a photo made in some sort of a photography studio by the looks of it. Just how can anyone read that? What a color scheme choice. Amazing. Just awful. It's a war sort of exploitation movie, but it's PG. Very strange. A suicide patrol against all odds. Yeah, watch that with your children. So we've got Neon City, another post-apocalyptic film. We've got Michael Ironside, one of my favorite boys, in a starring role. We've got Vanity from Action Jackson in this. We've got a wicked font. Very, very kind of designed to appeal to fans of Mad Max et al. Yeah, worth a watch, maybe just for Michael Ironside. He never has a bad performance, even in really terrible movies. He's just an absolute dude. Love that guy. The voice of Sam Fisher from Splinter Cell, for those who don't know. Michael Ironside. That's Neon City. One of my absolute favorites, Alienator. This is a Fred Olen Ray film. One of my absolute favorite bad movie directors. This is a horrendous low-budget sci-fi action horror. The plot is too ridiculous to really explain, but all you really need to know is that there's killer robots, cyborgs, there are stupid teens, there's stuff on a space station. It's just absolute madness and done very scuzzily and slimily, just like most of sort of Fred Olen Ray's movies, in a good kind of entertaining way. It's definitely worth a watch. We've got Streets of Rage, not related to the awesome Sega Mega Drive series of the same name, unfortunately. This is a vehicle for Mimi Lesios, who was apparently a female martial artist in the sort of vein of Kathy Long, I believe. Yeah, so she's an AWA wrestling and FMW martial arts champion. This was her sort of attempt to market herself to an action kind of audience. She's a perfect lady and the perfect weapon. There she is naked, so you can rent this for the premise of seeing her in the nude, if that's what you want. You've got her talking to a child, her tending to a body, and that's Streets of Rage, just a very generic kind of movie made to market Mimi Lesios. We've got Humanoid Defender. Termination ordered. Refusal of direct command. It's like somebody stamped the tape. So I know very little about this film, but the cover's pretty cool. We've got what looks like a cyborg or an android, an emotionless gentleman there. Looks a little bit like young Lance Henriksen. It's not, sadly. We've got why would they think that this would appeal to anyone? Just what looks like a normal photo of three men standing around. They put that prominently on the back. Wow. That's Humanoid Defender. At least the font is pretty cool. We've got Expect No Mercy, a mid-90s sort of cyber-themed, virtual reality-themed martial arts action romp. This is a very bad movie. For anyone who attended my 12-hour non-stop bad movie marathon that I put on a couple of years ago, I screened this. It is pretty funny. It's very much sort of mid-90s. The internet is a very new thing. Virtual reality is a very, very new, exciting thing. We'll set a kickboxing movie with those premises. Apart from that, there's really not much to be said. Pretty cool font again. Yeah, Expect No Mercy. Ruby, another one of these roadshow home videos with the very distinctive kind of rectangular design on the cover. We've got Piper Laurie in this sort of supernatural film. I don't believe this is really a bad film. It's a fairly obscure film, but it's not in the same sort of inept style of the rest of these films that I'm showing. I bought this just because it's a pretty rare find, horror find. Pretty cool tagline there. Christened in blood, raised in sin. She's sweet 16, let the party begin. Cool, and it rhymes. Ruby. I've got The Howling 3, The Marsupials. This is a Australian film, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, it is Australian. Yes, it's a spoof and a horror. It's a comedy horror. A Australian new wave classic, I dare say. Not a terrible film. Some might consider it a bad movie, but you gotta watch it for what it is, rather than what you want it to be. It's not really trying to scare; it's trying to give you cheap entertainment. That's Howling 3. We've got Big Bad Mama 2, part of the Mama craze of the 80s. I believe I own at least one more film with the name Mama in it, or the word Mama in it. These, I believe, are sort of like a redneck exploitation, pretty girls, but with a mean mother, kind of, you know, we don't take no shit from you kind of movies. Yeah, just a kind of like a redneck exploitation movie. That's Big Mad Mama 2. Cut and Run. This is a fairly well-known horror classic from the 80s. This is actually a Ruggero Deodato movie. He made Cannibal Holocaust. Very controversial film. So this was part of his sort of, I guess, more Hollywood style, but still making it in Italy kind of movies. Again, based around a jungle with dangers involved. It's got Michael Berryman, who's quite a well-known cult horror actor. Very distinctive looking gentleman. And Richard Lynch is in this as well. So he's a sort of a standard in these videos of mine. There's Richard Lynch. So that's cut and run for you. We've got Dune Warriors next. This is another post-apocalyptic movie. Hopefully you haven't tired of seeing these by now, but you can probably tell I quite enjoy this subgenre of B-movies. David Carradine in this film. I believe this was very late 80s or very early 90s, so kind of around the time when post-apocalyptic B-movies kind of started to subside. We've got some vehicles there, a gentleman with a bow. I mean, it even says in the tradition of Mad Max. So, yeah, it's very much trying to appeal to fans of that kind of movie. That's Dune Warriors. Cool font. We've got Arthur the Fighting Eagle. This was the first of the Arthur films, of which there have been, I believe, at least 4. These were Italian-made Conan rip-offs. There were so many sort of swords and sorcery sort of rip-off films made in Italy in that sort of time period. This is one of the more well-known series, starring Miles O'Keefe. One of these, I believe the second one, was featured in Mystery Science Theater 3000. Probably the best way to watch bad movies. A fairly entertaining and actually not that badly made movie. I mean, they did the best they could with the budget they had. It's worth checking out if you like sort of fantasy and sort of adventures, magic. Not a terrible film. Enjoyable. Hyper Sapien. People from Another Star. Oh, what a mess of a cover this is. We've got people, a man with a voice recorder, and we've got an alien playing billiards or pool. Why? Is this a comedy? I'm going to assume this is a comedy. I haven't watched this, or at least a heartwarming sort of style film, maybe for the family? Yes. Most likely. I really don't know much about this film, but it's called Hyper Sapien, and I own it for some reason. That's it. TerraVision. This is a classic. This is a great film. Very enjoyable. Kind of like a monster comedy, I guess, about a suburban family who, what is it? They get a TV installed, or like a cable sort of thing installed, and a monster comes out of it and terrorizes them. Yeah, it's well worth a watch. This was my finale for my bad movie marathon a couple of years ago. I think it went down pretty well. The cover is horrendous. no effort put into cutting these people's faces out and, like, at least make that not blurry. Like, come on. It's so bad. So bad that it's good. So gooey. And again, it's in this clear packaging, which is awesome. I love that. Okay, this is one of my absolute favorites for many reasons. This is the Dungeon Master. First reason is that cover is amazing. Just look at it. It's just superb. Everything about it. It's actually really well done. Framed well. There's nothing wrong with it at all. Just amazing cover. Magic, technology, creepy wizards. We've got the guy from Wasp. I believe that's the lead singer from Wasp, the band. Prominently featured there. This is it's kind of almost like an anthology movie of these little snippets, each directed by a different director, but all about the adventures of this guy. He's got like a little personal computer on his wrist that can do magic, and he needs to save his girlfriend from the sorcerer, or the dungeon master, I guess. But just everything about this film is excellent. It's worth a watch for sure. I've probably seen it at least 5 times. We've got another incredible cover here. We've got Warrior Queen. This was a Italian-made, sort of like a Roman historical epic. Donald Pleasance is in this. He spent quite a lot of time making these sort of low-budget Italian post-apocalyptic and sort of, I guess, post-apocalyptic and exploitation features in the sort of 80s, late 70s, early 80s, mid 80s. This kind of has it's set in Pompeii, so it's got a lot of like debauchery in it, quite a lot of nudity and violence, but yeah, excellent cover, very well done. I think they might have actually been trying to go off of the success, or what little success, that Caligula movie had, the one made by Tinto Brass. But yeah, this was made a few years after that film came out. The Kindred. I know very little about this film, but I'm assuming it's a horror movie. We've got some sort of grandma hands. It's holding some sort of test tube with something disgusting inside. We've got gore. Well, not gore. We've got some kind of man turning into something on the back. Probably the Kindred, I'm assuming. Again, I know very little about this, but yeah, it's a low-budget horror. And this will be the last one for part 3. We've got Gold of the Amazon Women. Men hunted by the warrior women of the Amazon. So, again, we've got Donald Pleasance in this. That's a complete coincidence that I've had 2 Donald Pleasance films in a row. Bo Svensson as well, Anita Ekberg. It's an adventure, apparently. And then we've got Donald there on the back in all of his circular glory. A kind of like a movie probably made to ride off the success of, Cannibal Holocaust and, those kind of jungle movies made by Italians in that same sort of time period. But this one's rated PG? Yeah, PG. So probably not that violent or controversial. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen, for the time being. I'm Art, and I'll see you in part 4. We've still got quite a few to get through.